Hey guys, Kian here, and this is an update on the Save State Viewer tool for Megaman Legends. And so the approach for this tool is to use a save state as opposed to the files from the game or a disk image file. And so there are a couple of advantages of this, and hopefully I'll get to them in a second. But the way it works is all you really need is the emulator PCSXR and the Mega Man Legends game itself. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to open the game, navigate to the scene that you want to see and see the models for, and then you're just going to want to make a save state. So escape, and emulator save state, and let's see, I'm going to overwrite slot 6. Okay, and then once we're done, we don't need to do anything else with the emulator than that, so we're just going to close it out so it doesn't drain my battery right now. And so what you're going to want to do from there is go to megamanlegends.gitlab.io/MMO1, and once you open it, you should be greeted with a viewport like this and instructions for how to use it. So what you would do is you go up to the header here and click on set state, and from there you're going to want to navigate to wherever your save state is. So we just saved save state 6 a second ago, which is 05. We're going to open this, and once you do that, you will be greeted with the navigation bar over here should be filled with text and list items now, and if you click on it, you will be able to view files from the game. And there's a couple of different things that are going on here. So when you load a model, it should be rigged, and if there's extra models if there's extra models associated with the file that aren't normally visible to the player. So in this case with data actually has two faces, and the game is swapping out. When the game shows one expression, it's going to have another expression swapped out in the background, and it does that instead of updating the textures in real time. And then here's data and the other thing is has level of detail. So here's data on medium level of detail and low level of detail, and it's face in low level of detail. And then you can just kind of click around and view all the models that are loaded into the scene. Here's the Surfbot. Surfbot, similar story. They've got different faces, single model, and then here we've got level of detail. And then the various NPCs, Jim, 1620, 2040, we've got the policeman, inspector, Tron, and all these will be rigged and ready to go. So if we scroll through the animations, then we can scroll through the animations. If you want to slow them down, you can slow down the animations to 0.5 speed. You can pause them if you want to. And then I also made a couple of changes here. So you can turn the grid on and off. You can turn the helper box on and off. You can turn the skeleton on and off. And information, I just kind of threw this in here, number of triangles and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting to see. So you can toggle that on and off as you need. I generally leave it on because I use it for debugging. So that's it for the characters. And another cool thing is you can hit download, and you can save the files. So if we open this, it exports everything that's loaded into the viewport. So this will be Tron, and her high, medium, and low models will be included, and they're included in two formats: GLTF or GLB, the binary version specifically, and DMF, which is another format which is really easy to support. So if someone has an issue, I can support DMF. GLB, it's a little bit more complicated. It's getting better and better support, so I don't really need to. There's not as much need to kind of do anything with it, or it should work in most places. But in terms of support, it's a lot easier for me to support DMF because it's a simpler format. And then if we go here to stage tiles, all the tiles in the memory will be displayed. And kind of a quick heads up on this is that the textures for all the palettes for all the textures and sometimes the textures might not be loaded into memory. So for the tiles, it's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes they'll work, sometimes they will not work. Depending, you might need to go to a different room or a specific room and then save a save state there and then load it from there. And then this, I'll point this out here. This is a Z fighting issue. So in the game, this isn't using one texture to display this. What it does is it doesn't use one polygon or one texture. So it'll use one quad for the wall, and then it'll use one quad for the window on top of that. And the renderer for 3JS or for most programs now will try to judge the distance to these two different quads and then try to sort which one comes out on top, and the conflict kind of leads to this. So there's no really easy way to address this in 3JS specifically. I don't know if I could try to dynamically create a new texture or try to separate these out so there's a little bit of distance between them. But it's right now it's just it seems to be a technique that they use for the PlayStation, because the PlayStation will just overwrite previous pixels, and they abuse that approach a lot. So yeah, and then I guess here we have part of the City Hall tile. And tiles as well too are come in high, medium, and low, and alternate tiles as well. So this is the broken high, medium, and low tile come in here too. And when you download those, all those should be included. Megaman is included as well. And so we have Megaman. And Megaman, I included a couple different versions of Megaman. So here's Megaman, I think unequipped, or just whatever the standard is. And then what the game does is it has this base model of Megaman. So his feet get swapped out, his buster and arm get swapped out, his special weapon and arm get swapped out, and his head and helmet get swapped out. So the game uses a mid-range, uses this kind of middle of the road approach, and then adds and then swaps out these other textures. So I included all the other things that can be swapped out as individual meshes so that you can kind of mix and match and attach as needed. If you export. And Megaman as well comes with all the animations in the game. So boom, 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 boom. One thing to kind of mention is that Megaman, the game uses what's called root position. So if you see Megaman jumping up right now, the game actually has a Y position defined for the model that it should be attached. Right now, I just ignore that and have everything set at 0. The reason being is because I couldn't find any consistent rules for how the game approached the root bone position. Sometimes you add them, sometimes you subtract them, sometimes you just fill it in completely. I couldn't find any rules for the Y conditions that were really consistent for all animations. So I don't know if that's done with programming or if that's intentional on the programmer's part, where they wrote different rules for different animations. But overall, I couldn't seem to get anything consistent. So if you need those values, you can clone. You can clone the repository and grab those with console.log pretty easily. Those shouldn't be too hard to grab if you know what you're looking for. And then the last thing, which is the biggest improvement over previous tools, is that it now comes with a room table. And so what the room table does is it goes to the MDT file in memory and looks up all the tiles in the game. And then what it does is it goes to the stage tiles and it puts them in order, and then it renders them to the screen. So here we have the City Hall map. And this is using the alternative tiles, so I guess everything is broken right now. And so one big thing to mention about this is the game uses two kinds of tiles, flat tiles and terrain tiles. So the things that work, like the city walls and stuff around the outside, and the fences and the trees and the water over here. I did not know there was water there. Okay. And the water and these vertical lines, these all use terrain tiles. And so those, all you have to do is you look for the terrain tile, you find the X, Y, and Z position, you move them over there, and then you plop them in place, and there's not much to it. You know, there's a lot of difference between the tile and the alternative tile, which have different effects depending on what you're going for. And that's kind of hit and miss, because sometimes the default will be the normal tile, sometimes the default will be the alternative tile. And I guess I just did a LAD for that. And so it's just a matter of putting them in place, and you can get a pretty good consistent map view for that. The hard part for Mega Man Legends is if you see all these green tiles are all flat texture tiles, and the game doesn't seem to have a consistent lookup for how the game manages to look up texture tiles. It seems to be independent by stage or something like that. So right now I just grabbed tile 0 and I put it in there as a placeholder to kind of get the geometry working, laid out and working, so that if someone wants to come back and replace the tiles and make it working, then it works. That's good English there. But the idea is to get the geometry out working and malleable, and then be able to kind of approach things later. So you can kind of click through City Hall. Everything kind of mostly works, and you can at least load the scene, plop Mega Man into it, and go from there. So this should be, I guess, the interior of the City Hall and stuff like that. And so, like, this is what I was saying before. I took the save state from the outside of City Hall, and the textures or the palettes for the inside the City Hall aren't loaded in. So if you want to do that, then you have to go inside the City Hall or talk to the mayor, make a save state there, and then reload this room. And the downloads for this work as well. And that's about it. So this has been an update for the progress on Mega Man Legends for the save state viewer. And it's you can save states. You can load all the models and stages and rooms in Mega Man that are loaded into the scene at that point. And it's getting there. There are still a few glaring issues, but I think this has been kind of like one of my most complete tools to date. So if you want to use it, head over to megamanlegends.gitlab.io and let me know what you think. So talk to you later. Bye.